America is one of the only industrialized nations in the world with maternal mortality rates this high. Doulas drastically increase your chances of having a safe, healthy physiological birth.
And she has all types of tips and tricks, so I'm gonna be out of there. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I have my lovely twin, which of course I'm complimenting myself at the same time, who happens to be my doula this time around. She's a certified doula and childbirth educator. This episode is all about what she does, interviewing her. If you don't know what a doula is, you don't know about the benefits that they can provide in labor, you might be pregnant, trying to decide if you want one or not, then this is a great video for you. Before we jump in, make sure you like the video, click subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss an upload, because we upload new content every week. When you subscribe, leave us a comment saying I subscribed. We'll be more than happy to reach out to you personally, and thank you for joining the family. If you haven't yet seen why me and my husband hired a doula, who happens to be my twin, make sure you check out that video. We are linking it below, and also it will play after this one. A question that we did ask on that one that I have to start with because it's the basics. For those who don't know, what is a doula?
A doula is a birth professional who supports pregnant women and their partners physically, emotionally, and educationally throughout pregnancy, the actual labor itself, and the immediate postpartum period. I do want to specify, specifically talking about a labor doula. A postpartum doula is someone who would come to your home after baby is born and basically be a mother to the mother, helping postpartum recovery by cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, doing basic newborn care.
I didn't even know those existed until she told me. Why is it important to have a doula?
It is so important to have a doula, especially in America, because America is one of the only industrialized nations in the world with maternal mortality rates this high. Not only are women dying in childbirth and in the postpartum period because of childbirth related complications, dying at really high numbers, women in general, but then also women of color are dying at much higher rates, very alarming rates. That is part of why the CDC is recommending that you hire a doula, because research shows that doulas actually lower the chances of your dying in childbirth. Doulas reduce the chances of your having an unnecessary C-section. Doulas reduce the chances of your actually getting an epidural or getting on Pitocin. Because our specialty is physiological childbirth, doulas drastically increase your chances of having a safe, healthy physiological birth, meaning vaginal and unmedicated.
Which is exactly what I'm going to have.
Yes.
I'm excited. That day is right around the corner.
Yes.
Right around the corner. Y'all see that?
But I must specify that doulas are not only for those who want unmedicated births. A doula is really important even for someone who says, well, I already know I want an epidural. I want to try the natural birth stuff. Even for someone who believes that way, but you really still want a vaginal birth, a doula is almost even more important. I guess I would have to say equally important, because doulas are really important as far as the comfort measures that we provide in helping your contractions to be more bearable. Sometimes women give up because they have no way of coping. So they figure, well, this is just too much. I don't even know how long this is going to go on. I can't do this. With the comfort measures making it more manageable, then if you're having an epidural and you feel like, well, I don't need comfort measures, but you increase your chances of labor stalling, which means it slows down too much, and then you're eventually declared failure to progress. So doulas are generally trained on how to even speed up a birth with an epidural to help your body kind of simulate your being in motion even while being chained to the bed. Because by the time you consent to an epidural, then now you have to be on continuous fetal monitoring, meaning you basically have to stay in the bed unless you have a wireless monitor. But even still, the more interventions that you agree to, the higher the chance that you will not be able to be mobile, just moving around the room. Lying in the bed, typically with epidurals, it's increasing your chances of being able to like sleep during labor and rest during labor, which is great, but that's not a great way to have a baby fast, is just sleeping in the bed. Doulas are really amazing to help your epidural situation to decrease the chances that it will end with a C-section that you don't want.
Good stuff. So, my dear twin, what made you decide to become a doula?
Great question. My story is really similar to a lot of doulas. Of course, not all doulas have kids, but my attraction to it came through my own own birth experiences, during my pregnancies, I was so consumed with preparation.
Yes, she was.
I was consumed with preparing myself physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, educationally, any possible way that I could prepare. I was dedicated to having an informed, fear-free experience. During that process, I did so much research in my first pregnancy, and I thought, well, my second time around, I've already done the research, I've already taken classes, I won't do so much research. Then the second time around, I was doing the same thing, just consuming a whole bunch of stuff, the birth world.
And then sending it to me.
So my first birth was a hospital birth, and then my second birth was a home birth. And with all the preparation that I put into that, by the time I had my son, I had a close friend who had been telling me ever since I had my daughter, or since maybe slightly before I had her, you should be a doula, you should become a doula, you should become a doula. And I'm like, well, I don't think so. I mean, like, I have a full-time job. Like, where would that fit into my life? After I had my home birth, I was sitting in prayer. He was probably like 4 months old. The Lord just told me, your passion for childbirth is not just for you, it's for others. Before I could even leave that space, I was already researching certification organizations, immediately went into certifying as a childbirth educator and then as a birth doula.
When I tell y'all, this one here, she is so passionate about it, so gifted, really puts her whole heart into it, and has so much knowledge. It is mind-blowing to me. She had her first baby almost a year before I had my first one, and just seeing how she handled the whole process inspired me so much and gave me baby fever. She just glorified the whole thing, but also prepared me very, very well, so there were not a lot of surprises in the process.
Right.
And really helped to prepare me emotionally and physically and spiritually for a beautiful experience. And that was even before she became certified.
Right.
Since she's been certified as a doula and a childbirth educator, she literally has expanded my thinking about this and my options and tools to really be fully equipped in such a powerful way. So I'm super excited. So what would you say is the most rewarding part of the process for you as a doula?
One big thing that makes a doula different from a midwife, like I've had people tell me, oh, you should become a midwife. You should actually like deliver the babies. Midwives are medical professionals. Just like obstetricians, they pop in and they pop out. They show up basically when it's time for the baby to be born, or if there are any complications that arise, they pop in, they do their thing, and they pop right back out. You don't spend a lot of time with your midwife. You don't spend a lot of time with your obstetricians. The difference between that and then a doula being not a medical professional, but a birth professional, is that you spend time with the people. That is what's dear to my heart, is spending that time with the mom and her partner and helping them to prepare prenatally throughout pregnancy, to help them wrap their mind around this massive life milestone, this thing that carries so much weight that you will remember for the rest of your life, to prepare for that thing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, spending that kind of time prenatally and then actually during labor, not popping in and popping out, but being that source of continuity of care. Even when your nurses are changing shifts, if it's that long, which it's very common for it to be long enough, for your nurses to change shifts, your obstetrician to change shifts, your midwives to change shifts, and then your doula remains. Your doula is that constant that's right there with you, along with whatever other support person that you have. Your doula is there to help support that person. When you ask what is your favorite part about it, it's really just being able to be that constant source of support. We can form a relationship. A doula service is a very personal service. You're able to go beyond the surface level and really kind of become family to the families, be able to be their rock in a really vulnerable time of life that you'll never forget.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, this is my second baby, so I'm praying that it's not enough time for nurses to change shifts, but that I'm in and out.
Yes.
And my doula is going to help make my labor shorter. Isn't that right?
Amen.
She has all types of tips and tricks, so I'm going to be out of there.
That is what we are believing and preparing for.
Not everybody watching this lives in Atlanta where they even have the option of doula Foley. With your experience, you understand what makes a good doula versus an average one. What would you say would be an effective way to find a good doula, like how to screen or interview doulas? First of all, she helped me to interview midwives. The questions I was asking them, they were like, oh wow. She has great questions to really help to determine who's going to be able to give you what you want. How would you suggest finding a good doula?
doula? Great question. As far as finding a doula, there's so many different avenues. I mean, you could Google what are some doula certification organizations, then go on their websites, try to find somebody who's in your area. As far as interviewing your doula, by the time you are trying to see, am I going to hire this doula? A thing that people don't talk about as far as interviewing doulas is that personality connection is really important. Never ever do your interview just over the phone. Do a Zoom consultation that you are talking to the person, you're able to see her mannerisms, see how you guys connect with one another, because you have to realize that labor is very highly hormonal. During that time, as your emotions change, your hormones change over time, you don't want to hire somebody that's going to get on your nerves by little nuances about them. If you not being in labor feels like, I don't even really like their accent. When they say the word "the," it kind of gets on my nerves, the way she says that. That means when you actually get in labor, that's going to be super annoying to you. Your doula is there to also help you emotionally because of the hormonal connection of labor. She's trying to manage your hormones, trying to keep you relaxed, calm, grounded. If something about her personality is annoying or offensive to you, how is she supposed to help keep you relaxed? The first thing would really be the personality connection that you feel with this doula. If you feel like your cultural differences are so massive that you can't get over that as you're talking to the person prenatally, definitely don't give that a try for labor itself. You got to see how you feel. You also want to ask, do you have a backup doula that you plan on hiring for my birth? Because a lot of doulas do not have backup doulas that they hire.
That means they're going to leave you hanging.
So of course the chances that your backup doula has to show up are very low, which is part of the reason why a lot of doulas do not hire backup doulas. The reason why I always hire a backup doula, even though I have to pay her to sit on call, even though the chances of her coming are slim, is because birth is extremely unpredictable. These estimated due dates don't mean very much. The baby could come on that due date 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, who knows? With that, let's say a super important occasion is happening in your life. Let's say you're getting married or something. You got to go to your own wedding, or what if you got into a car accident right around the time she's giving birth? The point is, she's already paid for this service, already invested in having a birth professional to support her at the hospital outside of her medical staff. She's gonna have this one baby this one time and nobody shows up. That's a really big deal. Because ideally you want her to be there, but if any sort of emergency situation happens and she is unable to attend, she needs to have a backup plan in place where someone else is already ready and available to meet you at the hospital. And also, you want to find out where you plan to deliver. Make sure she actually supports births there. For example, there's a hospital here in Atlanta. They have a very high C-section rate, and a lot of doulas do not support births there. If you don't know where you're birthing, that's not like a non-negotiable that you can't hire a doula before you know where you're birthing. Your doula might help you to make the decision about where you want to birth, but definitely making sure that she supports the kind of birth that you want. Asking her, what is your birth philosophy? Everybody has different birth philosophies. A very common trend among doulas is that doulas can tend to be a little extreme on the side of anti-medicine, anti-hospital. Let's say you and your partner are very comfortable with medical interventions. You don't have a strong bias against epidurals, or you are more open to, if they wanted to give you Pitocin to speed up the labor, then you have a doula who is so strong against medical interventions. You have her right here making you feel guilty for some of your choices. She's frustrated with you for not doing what's best. Obviously, there is an ideal way to do things, but for each mother who's giving birth, her and her partner need to make sure that whoever they hire is in alignment with their birth values. So what is her philosophy on childbirth? What is your philosophy on childbirth? So another thing, you need to know, do your religious beliefs align? If you are religious. Even if you are not religious, are you offended by whatever her religion is? Birth is also a very spiritual space. Some doulas will try not to introduce religion at all, but then you might be a Christian and be like, you know, I really would like a doula to pray with me in a really important time like this. If we do all that we can do and things are not really working out the way that I want them to work out, I want a doula who's not going to be offended if me and my husband grab hands and we start praying right here in the moment. A doula who will actually offer me prayer. If you are religious, then you might want to think about having someone who aligns with that. Or if you're not religious, consider that as well. And also consider the fact that because it's a very spiritual space, that a lot of doulas do carry their own religious backgrounds and religious beliefs, whether it be pantheism, sort of a worship of nature, in witchcraft, or whether it be in Christianity, even whether it be a worship of birth itself. There are many variations of religious fluidity among doulas. I absolutely would not hire a doula without finding out where she stands religiously and where you stand.
Good stuff. That is definitely important to know. That concludes our interview with my doula. Where can they find you, even if they don't live in Atlanta and they want to access your childbirth education classes virtually? How can they connect with you on social media?
PowerfulPeaceDoula.com is the website. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook, simply Kirsty.doula.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully this helps with your search for a doula or childbirth educator, or those of you who are expecting or planning to conceive, just getting your wheels turning, how to prepare for that season. If you haven't already, make sure you click the like button, hit subscribe, click the bell for notifications so you don't miss an upload, because we upload new content every week and you don't want to miss a beat. And when you subscribe, make sure you leave us a comment saying I subscribed, and we'll be more than happy to reach out to you personally. And thank you for joining the family. Till next time, y'all.
Bye.